So this is my honest review of the St. Kitts Marriott Resort and the Royal Beach Casino. And yes, something did catch me off guard. Actually, some things. So let's talk about it. I just got back from a 5-day stay in late March, which I learned is right after their peak season. There were still a couple of conferences happening, so the resort felt alive, but not overcrowded, which was quite nice. While I didn't get to try everything firsthand, I didn't go into the casino. I explored the property inside and out, from the rooms to the food, the beach, the pools, and the real-world experiences that actually make or break a trip. If you're wondering, is this resort worth the price? What's actually great and what's overrated? And how do you avoid the common mistakes? Let's break it all down. So in this video, I will cover what you can expect from the rooms, the real beach and pool scene, the food and drink truths, hidden insights on resort layout and transportation, and helpful insider tips for a better stay. Let's get into it. So number one, let's get into the room review. They're big, but not without their quirks. So the rooms here are spacious. There's plenty of room to spread out, unpack, and relax. But let's talk about the details. Beds, I give them maybe a 7 out of 10. They're comfortable enough, but you'll want extra pillows for sure, which we did ask for. They came pretty quickly. I think they gave us 3 in a bag, and they were pretty comfortable. They weren't horrible. They weren't the worst pillows I've ever had, but they also weren't the best. Our shower couldn't decide between hot and cold, which was quite annoying. It would alternate constantly, although other guests said that theirs was fine. I don't know if this was just an us problem, but that is infuriating, looking forward to a hot shower and it turns cold suddenly. You have to wait and freeze. And the multi-door entrance system to get into the rooms, honestly, it was confusing at first. It took a minute to figure out which door led where, which was a little frustrating, especially when we got there because it was hot. It was a long day of traveling. Pro tip here, ask for a high floor ocean view room. It's usually quieter and the views are quite excellent. So we did have a balcony and we were actually facing the pool. I think we were second floor. Yeah, we were second floor. There was only, I believe, 2 floors for us, so it's not super high view. There's really no skyscrapers or anything like that, so something to consider. We had a sliver of an ocean view, but overall the rooms were fine. I did like how big they were. That was comfortable. It just didn't feel super comfortable. Like it wasn't like super cozy. It was probably a little bit more modern than what I'm used to, but modern that needed updated. The bathrooms had one of those huge jacuzzi tubs that you got to step into. Not a fan of those. It looked pretty dated. Just wasn't a fan of the pretty much the whole shower situation because of the hot and cold. Did have a bidet, which I thought was interesting. Have many places with bidet. Haven't been to Europe yet, which I heard there's a lot over there. So overall, it was fine. The TV and stuff, I don't think there was a guide. Maybe there was, but like the TV overall didn't impress me. Nothing jumped out, but nothing was super horrible. Didn't really have too much time to watch TV. Simple technologies and things like that are quite irritating. Wi-Fi was okay and fine. I remember not having major issues. Even on the beach and the pools, the Wi-Fi seemed to be okay. So overall, the rooms itself, they were fine. They were reasonably comfortable. They were large. You could put your luggage everywhere. There wasn't space. You weren't tripping over that. The door system and not having room numbers on the outside of the door, so you didn't really know where you were going, I thought was confusing and a bit irritating. And also, there are no elevators to get your luggage, and you have to walk up steps if you're on the second floor. At least if you're in any of the kind of ancillary buildings. The main building does have an elevator right inside where the lobby is, but we were out on one of the auxiliary buildings, so it was mostly 2 floors, I think, out there, and we had to pretty much haul all of our stuff up the steps. You could have just asked them to bring your stuff to your room, but I didn't want to wait because I wanted to change and then we'd get going with our day. So heads up there. Those are all the pros and cons of the room. So let's get into number 2, the beach. It's beautiful, but be prepared. So the beach is undeniably beautiful. But here's what to know before you go barefoot. The darker sand gets incredibly hot by midday, like running on your tiptoes to the water hot. It is so hot. It's probably the hottest sand I think I've ever ran on. It's ridiculous. And the rock barrier helps break up the waves, but it's still not a calm swimming beach. I didn't so much mind the waves. It gives you something to do. It's definitely the Atlantic side. The Caribbean side, from what I understand, is quite calmer water, which we did get to see a little bit of that. Major win, though, is the free cabanas for guests. At most resorts, shaded loungers are an upgrade here, but here they're included, and you'll be grateful once the sun starts blazing. Like, super blazing. So bring flip-flops or water shoes for both the pool area and the beach. Your feet will thank you. That's an absolute must. You have to bring sandals or the right sandals to walk on the sand. In the morning, it's not that bad. As soon as it gets like 10 through like 3 o'clock, the sand is absolutely scorching. They have volleyball nets out there, but that's laughable until 4 or 5 o'clock because the sand's just way too hot. So you will be running from your lounger or your cover area down to the water because the sand is that hot, or you just take your flip-flops. Weird thing, people's flip-flops when they were in the water were disappearing, which I thought was very strange to take someone else's shoes. I'm not sure what happened. We never got the full story. It just, we had 2 incidents of people that were in our party that actually got their flip-flops or shoes taken or mistakenly taken. We're not sure what happened. It was very strange. You don't usually hear that. I've been to lots of places and not heard about shoes getting stolen. But the free cabanas, usually that's $150 to $200 a day to rent cabanas on beaches. Here they were free, mostly because probably the sun was so stinking hot that guests wouldn't even go out to the beach, which would have been a loss, because the water was amazing. It was reasonably calm. The barrier stopped a lot of the major waves coming through, but the water was great. Now the Caribbean side, they say the water is much calmer. It can be a bit clearer, and the sand's not as hot because it's a little bit whiter. So a little bit darker sand makes all the difference in this situation at this resort. So be prepared for all that. Watch out for the flip-flop stealers if they exist. We're not sure. Swiper, no swiping. And I think that was everything from the beach. So number 3 here, the pools. There's 3 options and kind of 3 different vibes. Kind of 2. There are 3 pools total, the large main pool and 2 smaller, quieter ones. So the main one has the crazy vibes and the 2 smaller ones are quiet and lovely. So the main pool gets packed quickly, chairs fill up by mid-morning, especially in shaded spots. The smaller pools were way more chill. One of them had available loungers pretty much all day, even when the main pool was shoulder to shoulder. So the swim up bar, it's great in theory, but the service is very slow here, which we'll get into a little bit more, and it's certainly slow at the swim up bar as well. One other thing, just like the beach, the tiles around the pool get super hot from the sun, so bring those shoes. Seriously, take them on the beach and around the pool. Think of it like walking on hot lava, but with a margarita in your hand. So can you imagine running on hot lava with a drink? Yeah, it's not that great. No. So a couple other things with the pool. If you get out to the pool, even the main pool, you can probably get a chair up to, at least what I saw, maybe 9:30, 10 o'clock, could be pushing it. Getting out to the beach, if you don't have your chair or your cabana reserved by, let's say, between 8 and 9, you're probably not getting it. I went out there around 7 and they were probably a quarter taken already or half. It's probably 9 o'clock that you're not going to get a cabana out by the beach, and then about 10 o'clock you're not going to get a chair by the pool. The other cool thing about the chairs at the pool with this specific resort is they all had covers over top of them. You don't normally see that. Usually you're seeing umbrellas that are in the concrete or on a weighted pedestal, but these all had individual chair covers, which was actually quite nice. And that went for all the pools. So even the quieter ones had the same type of chairs, which was really cool. Quieter pools, there was always chairs available, so if you don't get a chance to grab a chair or you want to sleep in at the main pool, just go over to the one. Main pool has all the activities though, where you're going to have the karaoke questions, the beach or the pool volleyball, all that kind of stuff. Covered the bar. Oh, things with the tiles. So it's so hot, one of our actually guests stepped on one of the hot tiles without shoes on, and he actually got a huge blister on the bottom of his foot. That's how hot it gets. So wear your shoes seriously. So number 4, food and drink, mixed bag, not all sampled. Because many of our meals, and this was a work trip, were catered for the group or offsite, I didn't get to eat at every restaurant. But here's what I did experience, just so I can give you some insight on the general feel. So the Bohemia Grill, which is a solid location by the pool, the location's actually great, but the food was a 5 out of 10 and the service was painfully slow. I feel like the service was painfully slow at pretty much all of the places I experienced at the resort. The breakfast, we tried both the menu and the buffet. I'm a huge breakfast person, so I always look forward to the breakfast. The buffet is definitely the better value, even though it's more expensive. You can customize your eggs, you can grab fresh fruit and get your money's worth. And the menu version is, there's not that many options, and the egg options aren't that vast. So I like to go and get my eggs done the way I like them. And you can load up on the French toast because it was delicious, because there's vanilla in it. It's really good. So the coffee shop and bakery, I didn't try it myself, but I heard really good feedback from several of the guests that went there and got coffee or pastries or whatever in the morning. They said it was very good. Room service, honestly, don't even waste your time. It was extremely disappointing. There were small portions and the quality was pretty low, so just don't even do it. Pro tip here, if dining is important to you, plan to eat off property a few nights. Try Spray Net or Marshall's or better meals with a local feel for sure. So we got to experience some catered meals at the resort, and then we got to go off site as well at a place down the road, which the off site was definitely way better. The quality of food was better, but one thing I will say is the type of food was very similar. So most of our meals throughout the 5 days were all a very similar feel or layout or type. So if you have picky eaters, that could be a little bit of an issue, because you're going to have lots of the meats, the plantains, the rices, a very similar spice spices and things like that. Just be aware that overall the food quality was decent, but you will get some of the same things if you have picky eaters, so heads up. Number 5, amenities. It's quiet wins and crowd favorites. So why I didn't personally try the spa, there's still a lot to like here. So the spa, from what I heard, is quite expensive. I did not go to it, or I didn't even really look at reviews because it wasn't really on my radar. The gym was clean and well equipped, and it was great for getting a morning workout in. A lot of people that were in our party were using the gym quite often. There are walking paths, hammocks, and quiet corners that make this resort feel more spacious than crowded. This is totally true. It was very well laid out and spread out, and you never feel like super packed, even though there was multiple conferences going on, which was nice. And one thing that surprised me, the daily activities were actually quite a big hit, and they had a lot going on. I saw everything from beach yoga to water aerobics getting solid turnout, and then it seemed like in the afternoon with the volleyball and some of the karaoke and the trivia, it seemed like there was a lot of people participating in that as well. So always ask for the daily activity sheet. They don't post it really anywhere obvious, but there's often more happening than you realize. They do have, I think, a chalkboard, or I do believe the activity posted where you pick up your towels and you have to hand your towels back in. So much like many of the resorts that I've gone to, towels are a situation, especially out on the pool or going to the beach. They will make you sign them out. They go directly to your room, and then you have to hand them back in. So if you take 4, you got to give 4 back, and they keep account of that pretty closely. So make sure you understand like the towel regimen is real here. I've been to places where they say they track it, and they really don't. This place, I believe, does. Number 6, transportation. Plan it ahead. At least we did, and it made it quite a bit easier. So there's no shuttle to and from the airport for the Marriott, so you'll need to figure that out in advance. Taxis are certainly reliable, but they're not cheap. They don't have meters either, so make sure you negotiate before you get in. There's no Uber or Lyft either, so it's taxis or figure out your service before you get there. I went through Viator and got our shuttle service to and from the airport, and he even drove us around a little bit before we went to the resort to show us some of the off-site things. It was pretty cool. If you're planning multiple off-property trips, hire a daily driver. You'll definitely save over time. We didn't have to look into this because most of this was covered because it was a work situation with a large group. So driving is on the left side in St. Kitts, something to keep in mind if you plan to rent a car. Left side. Don't go to the wrong side. Strong side. So I didn't make it into the casino during my stay, but from what I heard from others, it's one of the bigger casinos in the Caribbean, but it's certainly no Vegas. So the table minimums are high, and drinks are not comps. So the one thing I did hear my group saying is let's go in there and get drinks because it could be free. Well, they're not. They don't comp them, and if the minimums are high, this has got to be something you really want to do. So feedback was mixed. It's fun to check out, but not a must do. So if gaming is part of your vacation routine, it's there. But if not, you won't miss much. I did hear many of the games are dated, looks dated inside. Take that for what you will. I'm not a big casino person. I don't have a lot to compare, but if that's something you really look forward to in the Caribbean, there may be better places to look at. So let's go through a pros and cons recap. So pros, the rooms are spacious, which is really nice. There's plenty of room to move around. You don't feel cramped. The free shaded cabanas, that's $150 to $200 a day if you usually rent them, which is great. There's 3 pools, and there's always somewhere to relax. At least when I was there, which wasn't during peak season, there was always chairs available. There's beautiful views and solid walking paths. The resort was laid out wonderfully. Everything was well manicured and clean, and the views of the Atlantic Ocean and all the mountains were absolutely stunning. And there was mostly a friendly, helpful staff. We didn't really have any major issues, and actually I thought the room service in the sense of cleaning was actually quite exceptional. And there was a good variety of daily activities, which you can check out on the board, and I do believe you can bring up on the website as well. So cons here, the furniture feels dated. The bathroom I felt was a bit dated. The tub situation, just not a fan of that. Obviously the hot and cold shower, no thanks. Once again, inconsistent water temperature in showers, no, not really my thing. But nobody else in our party from what we asked had that same problem, so it could have just been our room, so take that for what it is. The pool tiles and beach sand get so hot, so make sure you bring the right shoes because it will scorch your feet. No joke. Diving was average at best. I'd say I definitely put dining at a 5 out of 10 here based on the places that we've been in the Caribbean outside of here. So room service, definitely not worth it. Don't even waste your time. I just thought that whole situation. The waiting time was about 40 minutes. That's pretty standard, but the quality and the portions were quite poor. No shuttle service for a Marriott. That's pretty unusual for me. Usually they at least offer something, even if you have to pay. Wasn't even on the card. You had to figure it out yourself. Final verdict, is it worth it? If you're looking for a quiet, spacious Caribbean resort with good views, Reasonable service and space to relax, this St. Kitts Marriott delivers. If you expect elevated cuisine, ultra modern rooms, or luxury beach experiences, you'll want to adjust your expectations or explore other options. Possibly the Four Seasons over at Nevis, maybe. Didn't get to see it. We were right next to it on the beach on the catamaran, but I didn't get to take a look. Would I stay again? Probably, but I'd bring my sandals for sure, eat offsite more, and skip the room service. So if you have any questions or thoughts, leave them in the comments below. I'll certainly get back to you if you do have any questions. What you should watch next is if you're planning a trip to St. Kitts, you don't miss my full St. Kitts travel guide. I cover what no one tells you before you go, local tips, airport logistics, and whether that catamaran ride is actually worth booking. So hit that next. It'll make your trip smoother and smarter. We'll catch you on the next one.